The long-range outlook is showing something weird, really weird. And honestly, it's got me at a loss for words. The European weeklies are looking super amplified. We're getting feedback patterns that don't make sense. Models are printing scenarios that seem almost impossible. At minute 310, I'll reveal why this setup could produce snow in places that rarely see it. And at 7 minutes 40 seconds, you'll discover what's causing these bizarre model predictions. Right now, we're dealing with a very unusual long-range pattern. And the big question is, will this really happen, or are the models going crazy? Let's start with what everyone cares about. Will it snow in your backyard? To be honest, most of you don't care if it snows anywhere else. I totally get that. So let's look at the snow map. These are the European extended weeklies. I use them to gauge where snow will probably fall. Not exactly how much, just where. When you see blue on the map, understand this is flattened over 7 days and more than 50 different models. Notice something. Snow across the west, into southern Canada, and into the northeast. Winter may not be relaxing here at all over the coming days into the end of the month. Maybe some snow here too. Watch how these snow lines shift south as we head into January. While I don't think we'll see a snowy Christmas in many areas, and I don't think we'll start the year cold with snow everywhere, some weird things are happening. It's in the upper level pattern, and we need to talk about that. Something else is shifting. The Pineapple Express, atmospheric river, fetch of moisture. Call it what you will, a tremendous plume of moisture off the Pacific moving into the Pacific Northwest. Oregon, Washington, more heavy rain on the way. Heavy snow inland too. Now we're shifting the fire hose into California by Friday and Saturday. Snow picking up in the Sierra. Look how this stays concentrated into California as we move into Sunday, Monday, into Northern California. Actually tries to shift north. I think we have to watch Southern California too. Could pull more moisture in as we head toward the 24th and 25th. Maybe a white Christmas in the mountains of Southern California. Pretty high up though. Your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from NOAA, clearly baking across the south, way above normal across a lot of the country. Well, south of a certain line anyway. Closer to normal if you're in the northeast. Maybe even below normal days 6 through 10. That's the 23rd through 27th. This starts to get less orange once you head into week 3 and 4. Takes you through the 27th through the 9th. That's a sign of cold air trying to intrude into parts of the northern US. Could be a change on the way. Temperature departures show clearly warm over the next couple weeks. As we head into January, this flattens out. But look at the colder reflections showing up across the Great Lakes and Northeast. We were talking about this back in the fall, how the South may be warm with this setup. Weak La Nina heading into neutral, sort of what we've seen this year. I don't know that that's really going to change much. Maybe we'll get some cold into Texas. I'm not sold on that yet. Take a look at this. The operational European was doing something really weird. That's what I wanted to show you. Looking past this weekend, a pretty decent cold pocket of air spinning across Canada. That lifts north. Your polar vortex lifting pretty far north into the Hudson Bay, up to the high latitudes. Now we've got this big ridge building across the country. Huge trough funneling moisture into Southern California by Christmas Day. If you believe this, it's looking more likely now. That puts much needed moisture into the mountains. We've not seen any snow at all, hardly into the Sierras. Maybe we'll get some snow here. Relatively warm across the country except the northeast. Cold there. Stays cold heading into Christmas. Here's where it gets weird. Look at these heights building up across Canada, across Hudson Bay. You end up with a situation where if you get enough blocking across Canada, you start sending storms underneath this ridge. That's where things get tricky. The European is trying to do this. Looks weird to me. You do this in January, you end up with snow in places that don't normally see snow. You do this in September, it's just a cold, dreary mess. We saw this setup a couple months ago, kinda seeing it again. It's showing some reflections. That's a long way from now. More to come. We're dealing with blizzard conditions moving through southern Canada. Moves north and east, finally starting to back off into the Dakotas. Long range, though, we've got another system. This one's weaker as it skirts across the northern US into Canada. Not as windy, not as much moisture, not as much snow. Couple more inches on top of what we've seen. Brings a reinforcing shot of cold air into the Great Lakes. Cold front pushes all the way into the mid-Atlantic into the south. High pressure sets up, keeping things cold on this side, warming back up on that side. Across the west, there comes all that moisture. Wind, rain, snow, heavy at times. Feet of snow on the way over the next couple weeks, I think. Look, the moisture really picks up around Christmas Eve. A lot of travel happening this time of year. Let me slow this down. Getting closer and closer. Some confidence building about snow into the northeast. Northern New England into Maine, see the best chance. New York City, believe it or not, it's not a zero chance this year. Pretty low, albeit. I'm not going to sell you on that yet. I'm not sold. I'm shopping, though. We're watching. No snow in Chicago. No snow across a lot of the country. Kansas City to Dallas to Oklahoma City to Denver to Salt Lake City. Likely just rain even in the valleys across the west. Not going to be a lot of cold air back here, but lots of moisture. Snow will be heavy into the mountains. Let me tell you something. With this cold air stuck in the northeast and multiple systems probably riding through the jet here, you're setting the stage where you could see ice, snow, a pretty active end to December for the northeast. Winter is not going to let go here. It might in other areas. This is where the change starts to happen. If you're believing the European and looking at it closely, let's believe it verbatim, which I'm not going to. Today's the 18th when we're recording this. If you're watching later, that's okay. I don't believe this long-range outlook that closely anyway. But I do like to look at the trends. The trends are for things to shift as we get toward the end of the month. And how about that? The overnight European printed a fantasy snowstorm for Virginia, North Carolina, Raleigh. That would put a rare snowstorm here. I'm telling you, it's going to take something as rare as what the European is showing. These huge heights, all this blocking into Canada, forcing something to go underneath it, that would put something interesting going on. Again, I don't believe it yet. Here's why. Look at the GFS. Some of you would say you'd never look at the GFS. I wouldn't look at anything past Christmas at this point. But I do want to show you the pattern. There's your cold in the northeast. None of this is different. Very similar setup with snow, wind, rain across the west. This is where it starts to change around the end of the month. The GFS is different looking, but kind of wanting to do something weird with blocking into Canada and sending something underneath it. Watch this time period for some kind of surprise. Even the GFS tries to do this weird snow thing into Virginia and North Carolina. Alright, I know not everyone's in Virginia, North Carolina, but there you go. That's what we're looking at on that particular run. The Canadian model, by the way, very similar with that second snow event moving across the Great Lakes into the northeast. Also keeps things cold in the northeast. Chillier with more precipitation across the west. Your ridge across the central United States. A lot of similarities there. The snow across the west is going to add up from British Columbia all the way into California. This could be pretty impactful with feet of snow. We've not seen snow out here. First of all, we've seen snow across a lot of the Ohio Valley into the Great Lakes. The Sierras? Nothing, hardly. We're finally looking at the chance of something happening here. We've seen quite a bit of snow across the northern Rockies. That snow into the Wasatch, into the Colorado Rockies, not looking as strong. Into New Mexico and Arizona through the end of the month, not looking impressive. Maybe that next storm coming in around Christmas will move further south. Your snow numbers across the northern plains. A lot of this has already fallen. Snow we've seen recently, as we head through the next week or so, just a little more. However, maybe a lot more across Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. You're used to the snow. We're just not seeing it further south. Let's go east now. Not a lot of snow expected around the Great Lakes even. Just a little lake effect and some snow showers behind our first system. The second one may dump a bit more further north into Canada. Not a lot. Once we get toward the 24th and 25th, that's your best chance for snow into northern New England. Not a lot into the mid-Atlantic and south, maybe a little light snow into West Virginia. Some of that falls Friday into Saturday. Otherwise, the next big thing to watch, or at least the time period. Yeah, I don't believe 2 feet of snow in southern Virginia. More to come on that. There's the snow into Canada. Let's look at temperatures. We're going to see a cool down heading into the weekend, but long range heading into next week, temperatures warm up. Back up into the 50s and 60s across a good part of the Ohio Valley. Into the Great Lakes, though, some cold air moving back. Hits the northeast. We've talked about that. These are your actual numbers. You can get an idea of what we're talking about when we say a big warm-up is on the way. Keep in mind, it's late December. A big warm-up in late December is not what it looks like in March. Still, if you're in Kansas City, you're pushing low 60s. You're in the 70s across Arkansas. 60s into Tennessee, a little colder once you get up toward the Cumberland Plateau. Hop up into the mountains and get east of the mountains into DC and the Mid-Atlantic. Downright cold into the Northeast with temperatures staying below freezing. Another warm shot heading into the 26th and 27th. Then another cool down behind it, most of that cold in the Northeast. Staying relatively warm elsewhere. Then here's where the weird stuff happens. More on that to come. Back across the central U.S., a cold shot moving through the upper Midwest, relatively warm across the plains into the 60s, going to get even warmer across Texas tomorrow, talking about mid-80s. I don't know if we get to 80 in Amarillo, but might get close in Dallas. Break out the shorts, 100%. Shorts and t-shirts. Cool down on the way as that front drops south. From at least 80 down to 60. Back at least closer to where we are this time of year. Not gonna last though, quick hit of cool air. Back up near 70. Even 60s up into South Dakota where we've dealt with really cold air recently. That Arctic air is being pushed east. Not really gonna dig south. As we head into next week through Christmas, relatively warm. Across the west, the really cold air is up into Alberta and Saskatchewan. Not gonna dig too far south. Look at Montana. Relatively warm. 50s here into eastern Montana possible as we head into the 22nd and 23rd. That starts to cool down some though, at least into Montana. Also start to cool down some in the west. Not cold enough in the valleys for a lot of snow. Boise, Salt Lake City, eastern Washington, and Oregon. You've been in the 60s, back close to 50 anyway. Temperatures coming down a good 10 degrees here in general over the coming week or so. Now let's talk about what makes this pattern so unusual. The blocking pattern setting up across Canada is rare. Not unheard of, but rare. When high pressure builds that strongly across Hudson Bay and Canada, it forces the jet stream to do unusual things. Storms that would normally track across the northern tier get deflected. They have to go around or underneath the block. That's when you get surprise snow events in places like Virginia and North Carolina. The models are all hinting at this. European, GFS, Canadian, all showing similar blocking patterns. The question is magnitude. How strong does the blocking get? How long does it last? That determines whether we get a historic snow event or just a light dusting. I'm not betting on the historic event yet, but I'm watching closely. The pattern is there. The ingredients are assembling. It just needs to come together at the right time. For the Pacific Northwest, the pattern is clearer. Atmospheric river after atmospheric river. Heavy rain at lower elevations. Heavy snow in the mountains. Feet of accumulation likely. This is high confidence. For California, particularly Southern California, this could bring much needed moisture. The Sierras have been starved for snow, finally getting some relief. Christmas week could bring significant snow to the mountains. For the Northeast, the pattern favors cold and active weather, multiple chances for snow. Maine has the best odds. Northern New England looks good. Further south gets trickier, but the potential exists. For the rest of the country, warmth dominates. Above average temperatures. Limited snow chances. Brown Christmas likely for most? That's the most confident part of the forecast. But that late December into early January period, that's when things could get interesting. That's when the blocking pattern could produce surprises. That's the time frame to watch. The models are struggling with this pattern. That's obvious. The spread between solutions is large. The European shows one thing, the GFS shows another, the Canadian shows a third, but they're all hinting at similar themes. Blocking across Canada. Active pattern in the Northeast. Warm central and southern U.S. Wet West Coast. Those are the consistent themes. The details? Those are uncertain. Exactly where snow falls. Exactly how much. Exactly when. Those answers come closer to the events. Right now, we're in pattern recognition mode. Watching trends. Identifying possibilities. Not making specific forecasts yet. If you're in the Northeast, stay tuned. Your winter might just be getting started. Multiple storm chances ahead. If you're in the west, prepare for heavy precipitation, rain at lower elevations, significant mountain snow. Travel could be impacted. If you're in the central or southern U.S., enjoy the warmth, but don't put away winter gear yet. Late December and early January could bring changes. The long-range outlook is showing something unusual, something rare, something that has me uncertain. Models are hinting at possibilities that don't happen often. Will it materialize? I don't know yet. Check back as we get closer. Patterns like this require monitoring. They can deliver surprises, or they can fall apart. That's the nature of long-range forecasting. We identify potential, we watch trends, we adjust as data improves. This pattern has potential, real potential for unusual weather. Whether that potential becomes reality remains to be seen. Stay informed, check forecasts frequently, be ready for changes. The setup is weird. The possibilities are intriguing. The outcome is uncertain. And that's where we are right now with this extended winter outlook. Not what it seems, not what we expected, but definitely something to watch